Greetings friends, this is F Recap, and today I'm going to tell you about a South Korean disaster comedy film called Exit, released in 2019. Let's dive in. The movie begins by introducing us to the main character, Lee Yong-nam, a man in his 30s who still lives with his parents. In his past, during his school and college days, he was a role model, smart, energetic, and a leader in his climbing club. Yong-nam won many competitions and was considered a true hero. But now his life is stalled. He can't seem to find a job, spending his days in the park practicing parkour and acrobatics. While he thinks it's cool, the whole town sees him as a loser and an oddball. Even his nephew tries to avoid talking to him. At home, the situation isn't much better. Yong-nam feels like a child, still being taken care of by his parents and sister. Though they love him, they often scold him for his failures and remind him that it's time to get his life together. He remains dependent on his family, and his mother still helps him style his hair. To make matters worse, his sister is annoyed that he keeps all his climbing gear at home and constantly nags him about it. One day, an important event arrives. It's his mother's 70th birthday. The family decides to throw a party, but their house is too small for it, so Yong-nam takes on the task of finding a suitable venue. Without much thought, he suggests a restaurant at the Cloud Garden Hotel, which is near their home. The truth is, Yong-nam didn't choose this place because it's beautiful or popular, but because his former love, Iju, works there, with whom he used to go rock climbing. They haven't spoken in 5 years since she turned him down for a date, but Yong-nam hasn't forgotten her and secretly hopes for a reunion. On the day of the party, the family gathers at the hotel, and Yong-nam faces a barrage of awkward questions from distant relatives. They ask him about his job and personal life, hinting that he's still single. However, suddenly he spots Yeju at the event. They find a quiet place to talk privately, and Yeju is surprised since she thought Yong-nam had been avoiding her ever since the rejection. Yong-nam reassures her that wasn't the case, and even says that he chose this venue randomly due to good reviews. In their conversation, he exaggerates his successes, claiming to be working as a manager at a big company. The party continues, and late at night, the hotel manager, Mr. Gu, tells his staff they can go home, except for Yeju. After the others leave, he starts making advances toward her, but she makes it clear she's not interested. Meanwhile, a real disaster is unfolding outside the hotel. A truck driver parking illegally breaks the key and starts opening the ventilation valves, releasing a strange gas. Soon, the gas spreads rapidly through the streets, killing everyone in its path. The catastrophe reaches the party as well. A gas cylinder crashes into the building, causing everyone to panic and run outside, but the cloud of poisonous gas quickly approaches. Yeju yells for everyone to get back inside. Meanwhile, Yong-nam notices his sister sitting in a car nearby. He shouts for her to get out, but the gas reaches her, and she collapses after just a few breaths. Yong-nam rushes to her, lifts her up, and carries her back to the hotel. The situation in the city worsens. TV reports say the gas is spreading across the area, and the only way to survive is to get to higher ground. The government sends out messages urging people to climb to the rooftops and wait for rescue. At the hotel, everyone heads to the roof, but the door is locked and the keys are on the lower floors, which are already covered in gas. The message explains that gas masks can protect people, but they only last for 10 minutes. It's crucial to cover the entire body to avoid chemical burns from the gas. At this point, the sneaky manager, Mr. Gu, finds some gas masks and hides them for himself. When people start looking for the key, he suddenly changes his mind and brings back some of the masks, claiming the key is downstairs and that he can't go down there himself. Yong-nam realizes the door can only be opened from the outside, so he decides to use his climbing skills. He asks for a rope, ties it to himself, and jumps across the gap to the neighboring roof. His journey turns into a real Assassin's Creed adventure. At one point, the rope runs out, and he has to unhook his safety harness to continue. Remembering his college days, Yong-nam makes a final leap, grabs onto a lion statue, which breaks off a tooth. But despite this, he manages to pull himself up onto the roof and unlocks the door for the others. Finally, a helicopter spots them, but the problem is that not everyone can be evacuated at once due to the weight limit. The pilots announce that the helicopter has already reached its maximum capacity, meaning some people will have to stay behind. One by one, Yeongnam's family, including his sister, are lifted onto the helicopter. But when it's his and Yeju's turn, an alarm sounds, indicating an overload. At this moment, it becomes clear that they'll have to stay on the roof and wait for the next helicopter, which might not arrive in time. The gas is getting closer, and each breath they take could be their last. The tension rises, and nerves are stretched to the limit. But Yeongnam makes a decision. They need to find a way to save themselves. Realizing that the next helicopter might not arrive in time, Yeongnam and Yeju decide to take action. They gather all the remaining gas masks and carefully wrap their bodies in plastic and duct tape to avoid exposure to the poisonous gas. This becomes their only chance for survival. As they step outside, they are met with a scene of utter chaos. The city is drowning in a mist of gas, and despite their protection, every movement is a struggle. The gas is swallowing up more streets and rising higher. They realize that staying on the surface is dangerous and decide to look for new ways to escape. Yeongnam and Yeju find a way to another roof, but as they climb, it becomes clear that the gas has already reached it. Seeing this, Yeongnam removes his gas mask and gives it to Yeju, deciding that her chance for survival is more important than his own. He's already gasping for air but doesn't give up, finding temporary shelter in an abandoned gym. There they take a short break, drink some water to regain strength, but know it's only a temporary solution. Their next plan is to get to the roof of the adjacent building. It seems safe, but the distance between the buildings is too great to simply jump across. So they decide to use dumbbells and a rope to throw it to the other building and stretch it between the rooftops. Yeju, being lighter, goes first, hoping the rope will hold. This time, every second counts, and the slightest mistake could cost them their lives. When it's Yeongnam's turn, the situation becomes more complicated. The gas continues to rise and the rope becomes less stable. At one point, the rope starts to slip, and it seems like it's about to break. He makes one last effort and continues moving, even though every step is more dangerous. Meanwhile, on the other roof, Yeju is worried for his life as she watches the gas slowly fill the space beneath him. At the same time, the authorities begin to realize that water can neutralize the poisonous gas, but it will take too much time. Even if they start spraying the city right now, the entire process will take several days. But Yeongnam and Yeju don't have that much time. At this moment, a drone hired by Yeongnam's father locates them. Journalists, controlling the drone, start broadcasting their escape live, and the whole country watches as the two of them try to survive. Almost reaching the highest crane, a huge number of drones fly towards them. One of the drones helps them throw over the rope. Everyone watches as the two of them, working as a team, have gone through such a difficult journey in an attempt to get to the neighboring building. They get stuck. The internet explodes with discussions, and thousands of people hold their breath as the two try to cross the massive gap, clinging to a thin rope. At one point, the rope does indeed start to slip, and it seems like the end. But despite this, Yeongnam doesn't give up. He and Yeju find themselves suspended between buildings, hanging over empty space, while the rope gradually weakens under their weight. With a pair of pliers, Yeju cuts the rope, and they begin to slide down. But at that moment, the drone that had been broadcasting the live feed suddenly malfunctions, and the transmission cuts off. The whole country holds its breath in anticipation. The rescue helicopter also begins to turn back, assuming that all is lost. However, when the helicopter approaches the last known location of Yeongnam and Yeju, the pilots notice something strange. There's a small glow on a construction crane, a signal flare lit by Yeongnam and Yeju in one final desperate attempt to survive. The pilots immediately direct the helicopter to this spot, and fortunately, they find both of them alive, exhausted but still fighting for their lives. They're lifted aboard, and they are finally saved. In the final scene, the heroes reunite with their families. Yeongnam's parents, while scolding him for his recklessness, can't hide their pride in their son. Yeju, despite the harrowing ordeal, finds the strength to put an end to her creepy manager, Mr. Gu, by slapping him across the face. Against this backdrop, there's a moment where Yeongnam returns Yeju's carabiner, but she asks him to hold on to it until their next meeting, hinting that they'll see each other again. The movie ends symbolically. Rain begins to fall, washing away the remaining gas from the city streets. Nature, as if cleansing everything, helps the city return to life after the disaster. And that's where we wrap up our recap of the movie Exit. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and leave a comment. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.